Hello, I'm
Hello.
Ellie.
Hi, I'm Arabella.
And we are Weekend Creative, and we are so excited to be back again for day 2 with Adobe Live.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. We had a lot of fun yesterday, and I'm excited to hang out with you guys today. As a reminder, you guys can start your day with the Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge with Sam. If you missed the one that was just before the show, you can always watch the replay on Behance, but make sure that you tune in for those because they're just a great way to learn new skills and they're super fun. So definitely keep that in mind. And feel free to say hi to us in the chat. Let us know where you guys are watching from. Feel free to ask questions as we go throughout today. We want to answer as many questions as possible, and we had some great ones yesterday. So definitely want to make sure we get to those. We have people joining us already, which is awesome. We have Norsh and if you missed yesterday, you can definitely rewatch. There's a replay available on Behance, so not to worry, you can check that out. We have P. Siller, Oliver, Sam.
Yay.
Thank you so much for joining us. And if you're watching on YouTube, feel free to come over to behance.net/live. That way we can see your chat and your questions and make sure that we answer all of them. So
that way we can interact with each other. That's
yes,
so fun.
Yes. It's honestly, it's our favorite part of
it really
doing Adobe
is.
Live is getting to chat with you guys. And so, yeah, we are so excited to be able to do that today.
Yay.
Yeah. So Arabella, do you want to introduce us and just kind of give a little recap of who we are for anyone who missed it?
Yes, definitely. So if you weren't here yesterday and you're new today, let us know, by the way.
Yes.
But we're Weekend Creative, and we are a California-based photo agency. We work with a lot of different kinds of brands to create content. Basically, mainly, stills and stop motion. So we really like to have fun and be playful. And, obviously our name is The Weekend or Weekend Creative. So we love the weekends and we love having fun. And yeah, I mean, I feel like you can see it through our work. And yeah, so that's pretty much us. We like working with all kinds of brands. So, I mean, sometimes you'll find us working with, candles or vitamin supplements. Sometimes it'll be skincare or glasses. So it's really kind of all over the place. But that's kind of what we like about our job and about freelancing is that we get to pick who we work with and, a lot of variety in our work. So yeah, this is our Instagram. It's at Weekend Creative. And you can also check out our website, weekend-creative.com. And this is where you can find a lot of our work. And something else that's also a big component to Weekend Creative is that we're big on education. And so we really want to facilitate a lot of learning and really help other product photographers get started. And so we offer a lot of resources through our blog, our Patreon, our freelancing comedy podcast. All the things we offer, downloads, all kinds of things that, that might be helpful or useful. And so we really want these streams to be as helpful too. So please feel free to ask all the questions as we take you through some of our editing process in Lightroom and in Photoshop. So if you weren't here yesterday, we worked on a fun little personal project. We revisited the editing of it, and it was all to do with waffles. So make sure to check that out if you haven't. We kind of worked on two stills really, and then converted the last still into a GIF. So we're going to be doing kind of the same thing today. But this time we're going to be working on a client project, which, it's a little bit different. It's something that you work with another person. So you have to really take into consideration the client and their needs and their brand, their brand colors and kind of what they give you as far as their brand guide. So yeah, I guess we should get started.
Let's get started. Oliver says, hi, Arabella and Ellie, back for part 2, watching from the UK.
Oh, so fun.
Yes. Yes. And yes,
I
Mick,
love
yesterday
it.
was waffles. It was a great time.
Yes. Okay. So I've got a couple things going on. We've got some stills, we've got the GIF. We'll see what the time allows. I know we've got a fun artist spotlight later in the stream. So we'll just get going. All right. So basically, do you want to tell them a little bit about Mela as the company?
Yeah, so this was the client that we worked with, and it's a skincare brand. And this shoot that we did was for their launch. So they hadn't launched yet; they were about to launch. And essentially, they have two different products, but one of their products can be used in multiple ways. So it's kind of like a multi-use skincare.
And I'll
And
pull up their final shots too, just
yeah,
so that you guys can see.
their whole thing is that they use melatonin in their skincare. So one of the products is more of like a nighttime, one of them is more of like a daytime. And so their kind of vision was doing this kind of day to night. They wanted to show like how like it could be like a sunrise or a sunset. And the melatonin kind of like they really wanted to focus on that as an ingredient. So those yellow flowers that you see, those are St. John's wort, I think is what they're called. And that's where they get their melatonin from.
Yes.
So I like, it was so hard to source them. My poor mom,
oh my
like,
gosh,
went to a nursery for me because it was far away. And I was like calling all these nurseries, like, do you have this? And are they blooming? Because that's the other thing is like, when you're working with ingredients, sometimes brands will like send their ingredient list and it's like, oh, these things are not in season when we're shooting. So how do we do that? So we kind of have to get creative sometime, but thankfully we were able to find them. And so, yeah, that's the theme of the shoot. And they really wanted to show like the uniqueness of their ingredients because melatonin is a pretty new and unique ingredient in skincare that's kind of just getting started. Yeah.
Exactly. And so we only had really two products to work with. It was this, this powder one, which we won't be editing this, but I just needed it for the gray card to fix the white balance and the color. But they have, a little cream and then a little kind of like powder that can be transformed into a face wash, a mask, and an exfoliant. So I usually get started in Lightroom. If you guys were here yesterday, that's I just love to be able to like organize and see my images here in Lightroom. And one of the great things too is that once I've edited in Photoshop, because I'm going to be taking it over from Lightroom to Photoshop, when I save it, it comes back into Lightroom, which is really nice. And then I can really see the images kind of next to each other. But the first thing I do is just kind of take over my gray card or my little eyedropper and fix the white balance. So I've already got that going, and I've checked off remove chromatic aberration and enable profile corrections, which is just for lens correction. And I'm going to copy the develop settings so that I can paste them onto the rest of the images. So copy that, and I'll go ahead and paste it onto these four. Right, there we go. And then same thing with this last one too. I'm just going to do the same thing. And so the reason that we photograph this, by the way, on a gray card or on gray seamless is that because we're going to be applying like a, that gradient, that nice little colored gradient in the background, as you can see from the final image or the final GIF. So super fun, and we just wanted it to keep it a neutral color so that we can do that easily.
Yeah, there have been shoots where we have like painted a gradient or something like that in the background, but because this is going to be so large scale and we needed it to be like large scale and small scale, and we just thought it would be a lot simpler to do it this way, and definitely it was. So.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm going in here to correct, and that looks so much better already. That looks like your skin tone. And if you can work with professional models, guys, they're the best. They know what to do, and she was like amazing and so easy to work with.
So great.
Yes.
Hi Bex, thank you for joining us. Norse says the brand makes me think of Nivea, which it's kind of true. It kind of looks similar.
Actually, you're kind of right, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll probably just start with this one because I think it's, you know, it's super fun. So some of the things that I'm going to be showing you today, which is a little bit different from yesterday, is that we're going to be working with gradients. We're also going to be, you know, doing a little bit of compositing. And then also, as you can see from in this image, like we have these like little transparencies like underneath all the like textures and like swatches. And that's just simply so that we can like place it easily onto our scene and make, well, except for this little powder thing, but for the most part, like it's just easier to sort of place and put where we want. So I'm going to definitely have to remove those as well. So, all right, so I'm just going to get started with this one.
That's a great trick if you're ever shooting skincare or anything that you need swatches or anything that's like messy, because that way, one, you're not ruining the board that's underneath, but also you can like do them over and over and like get the best one, and then place it into the scene and then be able to adjust it as needed, versus like if you do it in the scene, you're kind of stuck with whatever it looks like and wherever it is, and it's a lot harder to adjust it.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so let's see. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that layer, call it clean. And I'm just going to get started on. So the reason that I have this like second shot too is where I'm holding it is because if you see in this beginning, in this first shot, I have the little putty kind of holding it. And so I was like, you know what, let me just take a quick photo where I have it not without it. So I can easily just grab it and paste it in there.
And that putty was just to hold it in place,
yes,
so that it wouldn't slide around. And that's just earthquake putty or like poster putty, what you would use to hang up a poster on your wall. You can also use museum gel, which is transparent and definitely like probably a little bit easier. This is just, we have like a bunch of packs of this, so we're going through it, and then once it's gone, we'll get museum gel.
Exactly. So. But it's so easy. It's just simple. We try to do this.
Great.
It works perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's super simple. Oops, maybe I moved it too much.
Anytime you have anything like that could roll or needs to be like leaning or something that just kind of needs to be held in place, it's a great tool.
Yes. And then I'm just like clicking, right clicking and selecting warp. And that way I can kind of just like fix it and make sure that it's matching up. Okay. And it's all about the details here, guys. I mean, I feel like that's just product photography in general. You're just really like, I can work on this image probably for 3-4 hours. Like, yeah, really, realistically. Okay. That's like pretty close. Let me see. Maybe I'll move it over just a little bit more on this side.
Yeah.
And then basically what I like to do is I will add a layer mask, and I'm just going to get a really soft brush and have a low opacity, and around the edges I'm going to start removing. So I'm going to make sure, since I have the layer mask on white, I'm going to change my brush color to black, and that way I can just go around the edges and make it blend into the background. And that looks like it was always like that.
Perfect.
Yeah, there we go. So I'm just going to merge that down because I don't really need anything about it anymore. And I'm going to combine it with my clean. There you go. Perfect. All right. And then now, yeah, I'm just going to be using a combination of the tools that I used yesterday as well. Spot healing brush tool, patch tool, and the clone stamp tool. There's no real perfect way or right way of doing anything, of cleaning something up, as long as it works for you and it's, your process. I like to switch between kind of all three depending on what it is that I'm cleaning up. Actually, oops. So yeah, this is a bit of the part where there's always a little bit of, it's going to take a little bit, but
we'll get to it. To ask questions, yes, or share your favorite ways to clean things up.
Yes.
Yeah. And yesterday we asked people, what kind of photography they do. So if you want to share that with us too, feel free to share. It's always fun to hear all the different kinds of things that people shoot.
Yeah. Or share with us like any of your challenges, like as you know, you're retouching, or maybe you're just getting started on client work. Would love to know. I mean, you know, this is a community, so I'd love to for all of us to grow together. So
Absolutely.
I'm so impressed that you were able to get this, Ellie.
Honestly,
the flower.
I didn't think I was going to. It was like came down
It's
to
so
the wire.
beautiful too.
I know, it's a beautiful. They were not in season, so or they were just starting to be in season. So a lot of places I was calling, and also with nurseries, usually they sell younger plants, not like mature plants that flower. So you know, they would be like, sorry, we don't have any like flowering ones. But I was able to find one. My poor mom went and got it for me.
That's awesome.
And then it worked out. But there was only like 5 or 6 flowers, and we needed them for this entire shoot. So we were like so careful with them. And
I know.
Yeah. Left them on the plant until the last second, cut them. We were so careful.
We were so scared.
Yeah, because flowers, just like food, once you start working with them, like they just get so nasty.
For sure.
Norsh asked what the plant name is. I think it's called St. John's wort.
Yes, that sounds correctly.
Right. Yeah. So I guess it's a source of melatonin. Yeah, shout out to Mom. Xavier says, my poor mom, she's come in clutch. She lives further away now, but there's been so many times, like there was one time that we really needed figs for some reason.
I remember that.
I just kind of mentioned to her, like, gosh, like I really need figs and I guess they're not in season. Like I'm having a really hard time finding them. And she was like, oh, I have figs in my freezer from our tree. Like, do you want them? So she like drove an hour to bring me these figs for a photo shoot.
Moms.
She's the best.
Gotta love them.
I'll pay you a sourcing fee.
I mean, seriously.
I know.
Thank goodness for her.
I know.
Love it. Okay, I'm just over here fixing. So I'm going to actually show you guys a really cool trick too. There's a lot of obviously a lot of ways to clean up, but there's one particular tool that I like to use when it comes to like, you know, cat bottles or like things where like it's, you know, there's clearly like dust in here and like things like that. It's like a really nice way to just kind of clean it all up in one go. So I'm just right now taking care of all the bigger kind of imperfections, and then I'll get to that little cleanup as well, because it's fun.
I don't know how many people refer to cleaning dust in photos as fun.
I know.
Such a photographer thing to say.
I know. I feel like it's one of those things. It's become one of those things where like it's like now a little bit therapeutic because it's kind of mindless. You know, it's like, okay, like I'm going through it.
You can like listen to a podcast.
Listen to a podcast. Exactly. Like I like to put on like my favorite true crime podcast, or, you know, and just like go for it.
Yes. That is something that is nice. Like I feel that way when I do production things, like if I'm just painting or doing something that doesn't need a lot of like mind power, it's nice. And it feels like, oh, I get to also like have a treat while I do this.
Exactly.
Makes it more enjoyable.
Exactly. Yeah, if you guys have any like podcasts or music that you guys like listen to,
you have recommendations.
We're
always looking for new ones.
Yes. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Okay.
Sergio says, hi, nice works. I'm from Brazil. Thank you, Sergio. Thanks for being here.
So sweet.
Feel free to ask questions as we go along or share your thoughts with us.
Yes, please do. Okay, so let's see. How am I going to attack this thing? Probably going to do some stamping. Let's see. And just... There we go. Lots and lots of clicking. That's what product retouching is all about.
Yeah.
But that's like, you know, like we're the people who like makes the products and the ads look good, you know.
Mm-hmm.
This is how we get these products out to you. Okay.
Oh, cool. Xavier says there's a guy who runs my analog journal. He gets some really cool mixes of music from around the world. That's cool.
It is cool.
Yeah. Lots of variety.
All right. Getting somewhere here.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I know that having these transparency sheets really like makes it so much easier too.
Yeah. Yeah, those are just like transparency.
Do you guys remember like what was that like eighth grade, middle school?
Yeah, the projector sheets that like
the projector
they would
sheets.
project onto the wall and the teacher would like write on them.
Yes.
With a dry erase marker. That's what these are, and they're just cut up into little pieces. So yeah, really helpful for anything messy or anything that you need to be able to move around that you wouldn't be able to move around.
Exactly. I'm just being kind of like careful with this. I have like a bit of a, not so much of a softer brush, a little bit more of a hard edge, I think, just so that I can get these like corners right here. Yeah. There is another way that I could select it, but I think because it's so soft around the edges, I don't want to make it look that
like it was just
hard
placed.
Edge. Yeah. But this is working out pretty well. And I want to make sure I want to keep this shadow right here too. I don't want to like get rid of that.
Yes, for sure. Oh, Bex asked, where do you buy the projector sheets? So I think we just got ours on Amazon, but you can get them at like any office supply store, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe even, I don't know, maybe even like Target or Walmart. But
maybe. Yeah.
Maybe, but definitely Amazon has them. You just search like transparency sheets or projector sheets. So,
I mean, does anybody even use projectors anymore?
I mean, somebody must, because they keep making them.
They keep making them.
So there's somebody out there, probably like an old college professor. That's what I like imagine. Like somebody who's been teaching like 50 years and they're just like, this is the way. I will do no other way.
Yes. Okay, that's pretty good. Cool. Nice. All right. And then just one more. And I think I remember in the final image of this one, I ended up actually moving it over a little bit.
Okay.
Because it seemed like it could go a little bit more to the left.
Yeah, I can see that.
Which like I can do right now. Actually, if I just grab, the polygonal lasso tool, I can just loosely select it. I'll do a copy and I will paste it. And then that way I can just start moving it over a little bit more. So I'll just like zoom back. Sometimes it like you need to zoom back like in and out to like make sure everything's all looking good.
Yeah, for sure.
But something like around here might be better versus like here. You know what I mean? It kind of helps fill in this space a little bit there.
Definitely.
And maybe like right there. Cool.
Norse says the plant is fascinating, St. John's wort. Yeah, it is. It's really interesting. That's, I don't know, something that I really like about like working with different products is we do get to kind of interact with a lot of different ingredients or things, learn about things that like never would have learned about that before.
I know, right?
So it's kind of fun.
Oh yeah. Okay, cool. I think I like where that's at. So I'm just gonna merge it down and start working on it. Now this one is a little bit like there is more of hard edge around this swatch. Mm-hmm. I might actually just select it. Yeah. But I might like clean up the actual swatch itself a little bit.
Cleve says, wait, I use an opaque projector a few times a year to make big banners for family projects.
Oh my gosh.
Cool. Okay.
Wait, yes.
Then I'm sure people are using them. So
yeah.
That's cool. That's a great use for it. Paulina says, oh, hi ladies. I can only recommend per our last email podcast. I'm a huge fan. I love your work. Saying hi from Ireland. Oh,
that's so cool.
much. Really appreciate that. That's so sweet. Sophia asks, do you charge your client all the props and stuff you buy for the shoot as an additional fee, or is it included in the shoot price?
Good question.
Yeah. So how I do it is when I send the client an estimate for the project, I include a line item that is for set and props. And it's an estimate, so it can change, but I usually try to overestimate. It's better to go over than to go under. And then how we usually charge is like anything that we're going to keep and use again, or if it's something from our existing prop collection, because we have a pretty big collection now, I charge them a rental fee. So it's not, you know, I'm not going to charge them like the full, unless it's something that I'm like, we're never going to use this again. Like I just will charge them the full if they requested it. But if it's something that we can't reuse or we wouldn't reuse, like we can't reuse these flowers, stuff like that, I'll charge them the full fee for that. And but I don't usually end up charging them that full estimated rate. It's like just what we actually purchased, and always including receipts and all of that. So that's how we do it. I know some people do it different ways, but yeah, I think that's like for us been like the most transparent way. And it's also just the way to make sure that we're like fully compensated. And I tell the client, like, you know, if things change and I've already quoted you and then you decide that you need, you know, something that is expensive, then the estimate will change because and it's in our contract that they pay us, they reimburse us for all of those things.
Exactly.
But they kind of know up front, like it's kind of included in the shoot price because they get that full number up front, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. So now I'm just so that everyone can know what I'm doing. I'm using the Curvature Pen Tool just to select around this little swatch. I love the Curvature Tool pen. Does anybody use the Curvature tool? I know that people use the pen tool for sure.
Yes.
But the Curvature pen is really is where it's at. I just love that it knows kind of like where I want it to go.
Yeah.
You know? And you can always adjust it too if it doesn't. But for the most part, it's pretty good. Okay, just gonna grab around. And then I will close it up. And one of the things that you can do with the Curvature Tool pen, so like what if you are using the Curvature pen tool, it's like automatically doing these curves, right? So then when you're closing it up, or I mean, it could be any point, but if you double click on it, it'll go straight. Like it'll do like more of a, I don't even know. It'll make it
more rounded.
Yeah, more rounded or sharp, right?
Smooth,
so like you just like click on it. So like, for example, here's where I do want it to be more pointed. So then I'll just double click on it and it's like super easy. So now while clicking on any one of the points, I'll right click and I'll make a selection. I'll do new selection. I keep it at 0 pixels because I'm going to end up using the select and mask tool because I want it to be soft. So I'll just make a new selection, hit OK. So now that's all selected. And I'm going to go to select and mask. And I'm just going to use these tools at the bottom here on the right. That's going to be the smooth and the feather. So I like to just kind of go up a little bit, maybe around 10, something like that. Maybe feather it just very slightly, nothing crazy. And then I hit OK.
Norse says it looks like a shiny piece of meringue. It does.
Yes. Love it. Okay. And then now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab, I know that I'm eventually going to be wiping out this whole color. Like this kind of lavender color is going to be like a smooth, solid color. I'm going to do that in Photoshop. I'll show you guys. But so I'm not too worried about like kind of what's around here. I just want it to be kind of, I just want the transparency to like go away.
Yeah.
So basically what I'm doing is I'm using the stamp tool right here, and I have a pretty soft brush, low opacity, just so that I can build it up. And I'm just going in and getting rid of that transparency. And I'm always kind of selecting, at least on Mac, it's option, but it's basically, it turns into this little kind of point. It's kind of so that you can like, you know, pick your source. There we go. So basically what I was doing with the Curvature Pen Tool is kind of more of like a guide, right? Like I'm selecting so that I know where to stay within. Oops, too close. Almost there. All right. So that's pretty good.
Looks great.
Yeah. There's a few spots where I'm like, you know, looks a little funky, but we're going to be removing that anyway. But that's pretty much, you know, that's how we do it. Let's see if there's any other spots. Okay. Maybe I want to make this fuller here. There we go. And I'm using just the spot healing brush tool. These are some nice looking. Oh, by the way, aren't these like different kiwis too?
Yeah, they're golden kiwis.
Golden kiwis or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that they have, it's like that's where they get the vitamin C or something for these products.
Amazing. Okay, so obviously this is a whole mess over here. We're gonna kind of speed edit that one. But oh, let me see. Whoops. Okay, there we go. Fix this little brown spot. And okay, so always there's, I mean, this product too was a magnet for dust and just like all kinds of stuff. So one of the things that I like to do to kind of fix that, there's actually a few different tools, but I'll show you one of them besides just using the, you know, the spot healing brush tool and all those things. But so what I like to do is I'll grab the lasso tool and I kind of make like a very like loose selection over like where I want. Nothing crazy. So something like that. And I'll go ahead and hit and go up to the top where it says filter. And you're going to go down to noise. And there's a couple of different ways. So I like to use the dust and scratches tool. And that's like perfect for, you know, kind of surfaces like this where there's stuff in there. And I always like to put these at the beginning so that I can see. So the radius and the threshold, I've kind of put all the way at the beginning. And then the threshold is how much, like it's, can you tell? Like, I don't know if you guys can tell, but it gets like a little bit softer. So I'm going to go up on radius a little bit, and then I'm going to start going over to the threshold, like 3, maybe up this up a little bit. So I don't know if you guys can notice, like, see those little like specks? Let me see if I can zoom in on this. I don't know if you guys can see it on here. I can see it, but basically like it's happening. And it's like a really easy way to just like any little specks, anything that looks like it's not supposed to be there, it like picks it up right away.
Yeah, that's
which
so
is
helpful.
awesome. And it helps so much, especially with like with, you know, like silver tops, or like even, you know, like even at the bottom here, like I'll show you guys a little bit as well. So I'm just going to press OK. And same thing here. Like there's a lot going on here. I'll show you what happens actually if you do use it. So let me go ahead and just make a loose selection on this label. And kind of show you what happens. So I'm actually going to copy and paste it. I'm going to have it be its own layer. So I'm going to do filter, noise, dust and scratches. And here's what actually happens, right? Like
it thinks that's
a dust thing.
A speck.
A speck, exactly. So it's working, right? It definitely like, you know, it removes certain things. But we don't want the text to go away either. So what you can do is then add a layer mask and then brush in the text, right?
Yeah.
Brush in what you do want to
Yeah.
stay.
Yeah, that's something else with shooting products or shooting for a client is the label is always so important. So like
Yes.
making that front and center, making sure that like it's super clear and legible, which a lot of times means like something like this, probably darkening that some of that text a little bit and making
yes.
making it pop.
Making it pop.
Yeah, it's really important.
So that's like a quick, easy way. Like, let's say you just had like, I don't know, for some reason, a lot of dust. Then that's an easy way to fix that. Obviously, like I'd probably go in and really like fix in some of the text in here too. Like there's a little bit of, and sometimes it's like part of production too. Like some products just, that's just how it's going to be.
Yeah.
Obviously you want to have a good relationship with your client to let them know like, hey, maybe, it's amazing actually when clients have like products that have like matte
yes,
labels,
they have special matte
oh
labels just for photo shoots sometimes, and that is amazing.
Yeah,
it's wonderful.
So here's another part too where like I might just go in and oops, that's not what I wanted. Make a just quick selection.
Norsh asked if you can recommend any pro tips you have to ease editing afterward while compositing the product and the props.
To ease editing?
Yeah, I think, and maybe clarify, Norsh, if like this isn't exactly the answer to your question, but I think something like you mentioned, cleaning up dust like before we shoot, always like wiping the products down, that saves a lot of time.
Microfiber cloths. Oh my gosh.
Buy some microfiber cloths and wipe everything down, even if it doesn't look like it needs to be wiped down. It's really helpful.
Exactly.
And then I think we also try to get as much in camera as possible. So I'm always the one who's like, you can just Photoshop it, right? And Arabella's like, let's try to get it in camera.
Yeah, exactly.
It takes a little bit more time day of sometimes, but a lot of times, it saves time later, and it a lot of times like looks a little better. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you have any other tips to make editing easier?
I mean, whatever you can do to like get things in camera, I think is just the best thing that you can. Yeah. I mean, I think you said it all, like wiping down everything, cleaning as much as possible, wearing gloves so that you're not getting fingerprints.
Wear gloves.
Wear gloves. Yeah. That's like the best. The last thing you want to do is see smudge prints and stuff like that, especially on like glass items. It's not fun.
Yes, for sure.
So see how like I just like was able to like remove all that so quickly, and that's using the same tool, the dust and scratches tool. And the reason that I like to kind of like, I think it's helpful to do it like hyper focused, right? Like pick us up a part in your image versus like you could do the whole thing if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always work. Like you might need the settings to look differently for like each area. So you just, it helps to kind of break it apart. So that's one way. Another way too that you can do is, for example, it's actually in the same filter section too. It's in the filter, noise, and median. So it's kind of like another way of like smoothing, like, I guess it's more of like a smoothing kind of filter. I'll just show you what it looks like real quick. So you go to filter, noise, and then median. And so like if you wanted to really like smooth out the texture, you could do that, look at it, just like goes crazy.
Oh yeah.
So it's definitely more extreme. I think I like dust and scratches a little bit more because it is well, I mean, it's kind of like its name, it's dust and scratches. So that's another way, but I like using mostly the dust and scratches if personally. Okay.
Bahia Design says, hi girls, I'm watching you from Italy. I love your work and really admire the work you've put into building your business.
Oh.
Arabella, are you using a graphic tablet or a mouse?
I'm using a mouse. I have never gotten to learn how to use like a tablet or anything like that. I've heard a lot of good things about doing so.
Yeah.
But I got used to a mouse, which you guys, surprisingly, I used to only work on a trackpad
So
before, which
crazy.
is insane. I don't know why. And then once I started using a mouse, I was like, what have I've been missing so much. So yeah, once I made that transition, I was very happy. I think my hands were happy.
Maybe you would feel the same way if you transitioned to a tablet. You'd
I
be like,
know,
what
maybe
have
I
I been doing
would.
with my life?
I know.
What
I
do you
guess,
guys use? Let us know.
yeah.
Recommendations.
Yeah, let us know. All right. So there's definitely a lot of cleanup in all of these things here. I can get real crazy and just like finish out this whole thing here too. But I definitely want to get to showing you guys how I do the gradient as well. So I'm just going to fix this one last thing and then we'll get to it. Okay. So I might also want to do a little dust and scratches here. That, copy it. Okay.
Sophia says a tablet is the best.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, probably would be pretty helpful for you. But it's also like you get comfortable with what you use and it's hard to switch sometimes.
Exactly.
So for anyone who is just joining, also, by the way, I'm Ellie and this is Arabella. We're Weekend Creative, and Arabella is showing her post-production process in Photoshop, working on a client project, a still, and then later on she's going to work on a GIF. So yeah, thank you for being here. If you're watching on YouTube, you can come over to behance.net/live, and that's where we can see your chat and your questions. And feel free to ask whatever questions you have about business, freelance, Photoshop, Lightroom, our process, photography, whatever's on your mind. We would love to hear it and love to make this stream as helpful as possible. So
yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mick says, is it weird that it looks a little like Scotch and Coke, like a rock star's table with good skin? It kind of does. This is jojoba oil, which is another ingredient in their skincare. But it kind of does look like Scotch.
I know, it kind of does.
Especially in that glass. That was something that, yeah, we had to think about, like, okay, this is oil, so we can't just like pour it on the table, right? It's gonna run everywhere. And so how are we gonna show that? And decided on putting it in a little clear glass. But it does look a little bit like
it kind of does.
Scotch. What does Michael say? Scotch and Splenda.
Oh yeah, Scotch and Splenda.
Tastes like Splenda, gets you drunk like Scotch.
Any Office fans out there?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Xavier asked if we shoot tethered so that we can see the images bigger.
Yes, we do. So we love, I think that's just one of the easiest ways to like view your images right after you're shooting them. It just makes things easier, especially for styling too.
Yes.
So yeah, I know like Lightroom too does, you can tether to Lightroom, which is awesome, especially if you already use Lightroom as a, like a gallery to like put in all your images, which I do. And so, yeah, we definitely tether. I think it's like one of the best things ever.
Yeah. And we not only tether, we shoot with live view. So we are able to see everything live as we're styling it, which just saves so much time. Because we used to shoot where we would like take a photo, look at it, and then like make adjustments, take another photo, look. And you still have to do a little bit of that sometimes, but to be able to kind of get it in that one shot, it's super helpful.
Yeah, definitely.
And you can do an overlay too, right? So like if we always ask our clients like for dimensions, so especially for things like social media is a little easier, but something like a website header or something where it has to have like specific dimensions, sometimes you have to leave space for text. You can even put an overlay that has the crop and has the text that needs to go in that image, like where it's going to go. And then you can shoot like exactly to fit that space. And it's such a time saver.
Yeah, it really is.
And I mean, great for social images too, kind of seeing how it'll crop as a square, as 4x5, or as a story, or whatever
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be used for. So, highly recommend shooting tethered.
Yes. Okay. Almost there. I know actually from the final image, part of this might get cropped out. I don't know. I can't remember right now, but
Oh, probably. Yeah, probably the edge of it.
yeah, but I just kind of want it to look pretty. I might actually fix this. Let me see. So I like to always have my rulers turned on, and that way I can see like, okay, so that's for the most part pretty straight. And then this is a little off, so I might fix that. So sometimes I'll just do a quick, I'll move this out of the way for now. And I'll use the polygonal lasso tool. Do a little loose selection there. I'll soften it using the smooth and the feather with the selected mask, and then I'll just copy and paste it. And then using the transform tool, I'll just use skew and I'll fix it.
Perfect.
Yeah, so let me just bring back that ruler and I'll just like fix it a little bit there.
Xavier says I'll now have to set up my Lightroom to do that. Yeah.
Yes.
And shooting tethered, shooting live is like, it was like life changing for us.
I know. It really was.
We can't go back now. Like, I don't think I could shoot without live view or with like, yeah. I mean, certain shoots, like if you're shooting like more of like lifestyle or something like that, it's a little bit easier to not. But if you're shooting anything that's like highly stylized, it's like
it's so much
a
easier.
game changer.
It saves so much time too. Yes. Okay.
Cleve says, I'm cleaning my screen. Those aren't spots you missed. So funny. I know I need to clean my screen too. Actually, my whole laptop, when I really look at it, I'm like, okay, that's really gross.
You're like, it needs
I need to clean this.
All right. Almost there. There we go. Cool. And I might go over it again with some patch tool because I've lost some of that texture while, cloning, stamping it.
Yeah.
I want to add that back in a little bit. Okay, that's decent enough. I think. Let me just grab this whole thing too. It's a little dark, probably from the shadow of the plant, but that's going to be going away anyway. I definitely just want to make sure that I keep this shadow here.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, so now that we've got that, so one of the things that our client gave us was their gradient. And so we have it already here in our gradients. But I mean, if you just go into the gradient panel, like there are so many different kinds. Ones that you can already like pre-use, right? Like you can kind of do that and, there you'll find it. Oh, that's a kind of like lighter one. Let's see. Oh yeah, okay. It's because the opacity is down. There you go. So there you go. So it's just like a bunch of different like gradients that you can choose from. But the top ones, like under the basics panel, is like I just click into it and you can like make your own, right?
Yeah.
So for example, like let's say you did have, maybe their brand colors, like I'll just pop it in right here and I'll double click on that gradient editor and you have all these little like, I don't even know what you'd call them, like markers. Yeah. And you can like double click on them and I'll just move this around a little bit. And let's say I want to add this one and maybe I just want, 2 colors. So then I'll just pick the next one and then there's my gradient, right? If I want more, I just literally click underneath the gradient and add another little marker and I can double click it and add another color, right? Do it, same thing, click it. And now I've got like a whole thing going on, right? So that's like one quick, easy way to make your own gradient, right? But since we have, already from our client, I'm just going to be using theirs. But one of the things that I So gradients are a little tricky because depending on how you export them, like you might get a lot of banding and stuff. So one of the things that I like to do is add just slight grain to it so that it helps make the blending of the colors, I guess blend.
More smooth.
More smooth, yeah. Especially because our client did have like their brand colors is a gradient. Like that's what it is.
Yeah.
So okay, so here's what's gonna happen. Let's see.
Well, and that's supposed to kind of visually show the like day to night, or like,
The
you
day
know
to
how
night.
like when it's dusk and you kind of have that gradient in the sky, or sunrise gradient in the sky, like that's kind of what they wanted
so
to show.
this is their thing.
Yeah.
And they were actually also pretty particular too about the direction.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna like look back and make sure that I'm doing it how they wanted it. So I think it might have been, yeah, there we go. So it was kind of like that light. It was a little bit more vertical. I could do it at an angle too. But they definitely wanted that more like, more vertical. I think in the first round of edits, I remember I did it horizontal, and they were like, hey, like, can we like make it like this? And like, that's one of the things that, I mean, it's something that you have to consider when it comes to working with clients, is that there's going to be feedback. And so that's, something to keep in mind, and it's okay. And it's sometimes that's, that's their brand. And so
it's
you
want
to make sure.
Yeah,
it's normal. So, no, don't take things personally.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to do that blue to the dark blue. Okay. So now it's all about selection, basically. So I'm just going to grab this magic wand tool. I'm going to have a tolerance of maybe like 15. Basically, the higher the tolerance, the more, the more colors it'll want to include in your selection. So I think that's pretty good for now. And since I know that I'm just going to be adding the gradient to this gray background, I'll just go ahead and start selecting around here. That did a pretty good job.
Yeah, really good.
And let's see. I'll just get in real close and make sure it's selecting everything that I want to select. Always got to make sure that like you're looking around all the edges too. Yeah, that's pretty good. I might want to go a little bit lower. Okay. So let's say I want to go a little bit lower. So like I can just add to my selection, right? I go back to my polygonal lasso tool, and I'm going to go underneath this little horizon line here.
Nourish asked, what's the biggest / weirdest project you've worked on in terms of time taken and cost? Was it worth it, or are there any projects that with your experience, you must stay away from?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I'm just thinking of one that we did like actually around the same time as this client, where like what they told us they wanted wasn't actually what they wanted.
Yep.
And I don't think they really knew what they wanted. And what was kind of weird was like, they told me from the beginning that they wanted to like redo all of their imagery. So it was like, they wanted to kind of change the look and feel of their images. But then at the end of the day, what they actually wanted was to stay the same.
Yeah.
So I think that's where just asking a lot of questions up front and just making sure that things are approved and like approved in writing is really important. That was also the project where we changed our contract. We changed it to take full payment before we deliver the final images, because we had an issue getting them to pay us for the final work, which was really frustrating.
Yeah.
And the day of the shoot, they decided to like add a bunch of images that we didn't plan for because we weren't told about them. And the client was like on the phone the whole shoot. So like getting him to approve things was really hard. And he was like, I don't know. He just was very expressive in his dislike of what we were doing, which was really frustrating.
Oh, yeah.
So
It happens to the best of us.
it happens.
It happens to everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's hard because you want your client to be happy, but it's also a little frustrating when you're like, well, this is what you said you wanted and you signed off on it. And then now you don't like it. And I don't know what to tell you. We can't, we're here. We're ready to shoot. We can't like redo everything right now.
Oh man, I know.
I think, yeah, it ended up costing them more money because we had to do overtime. We had a stylist, we had to pay overtime because they wanted to change a bunch of things. And a lot of things ended up costing more because they needed so many changes and revisions and stuff, and they didn't want to pay for that. So, and it was a big project. Like we were shooting a lot of food and like cooking food on set. And whenever you're shooting a lot of food or fresh ingredients, and they had so many products that we were shooting, it just makes everything more complicated. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we had a model, we had all this stuff.
It was a lot.
A lot of like moving pieces. I'm so glad we had that stylist because a lot of times I just style everything, and I'm really glad we had her because that really made it a lot better.
Definitely.
So yeah.
All right, guys, I'm just using the same like select and mask tool. I honestly love this tool actually a lot. I think it just helps to really define edges, especially because I know I'm going to be adding a gradient to this. So like I want to make sure that everything's selected right. You know, even like going around some of the edges here, making sure it grabs all the background. And yeah, I'm just like cleaning up the edges here before we put in our gradient. Yeah, that was a pretty big project.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate, I think, like when you do a lot of work for a project and like we'll never use those images. We'll never put them anywhere because they got changed so much the day of that like they're not good.
And it happens. It happens,
and that's okay. But it's just, you know, and it's like, it's never a good feeling when your client's not happy. Like it just is the worst. But what was there was an editing note they gave you, Arabella, that was like really funny. There was fabric.
It was like fabric. And I remember that they wanted the fabric to look more luxe.
They wanted it to look expensive. It was velvet fabric. I don't know how much more expensive you can look.
I know. I just remember they wanted that to look more luxe. So they kind of insinuated, okay, like make it more contrasted, you know?
Yeah.
But then they also had a problem with like the whole image being too colorful. They wanted to desaturate. Like, I don't know. It was like a really weird, like polar opposite like thing.
It was like they gave you two separate.
Yeah.
They wanted two different things that were the opposite to be true in the same image. Yeah, it was very weird.
Oops. There we go. Oh, today. No, go back. All right. Sometimes the selection mask can be a little slow. Hopefully it wants to. Oh, there you go. Okay. Woo. There we go. Sweet.
Nor says, thank you for sharing. You're welcome. Feel free to ask. We love questions. And it's a great like time in this kind of space where Arabella's kind of just filling things in to ask questions.
Yes.
So feel free to ask as many questions as you want.
And there are a lot of good clients, you guys.
Book.
We,
yeah. This client.
Sometimes it just happens. It's something that happens. But
yeah.
Thankfully, we also have really awesome clients. And that's, the beauty of it.
This client that we're showing right now is like such a sweet, awesome client.
I know.
They were so wonderful to work with.
Okay. Yeah, see, I knew. I was like, this is going to take longer than I thought.
Yeah.
But it's okay. We're getting it. We're showing you. Okay. Now this is going to be like a tricky part right here because it's glass, because it's like kind of more see-through. I might end up just later, when I'm with the gradient, adding a layer mask and just kind of like
adding the glass back in.
Adding the glass back in. I don't know how much I can, do right now, but we'll see how it looks.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, it wants to just like grab everything. So I'm gonna leave that as is, and I'm basically ready. I'm ready to add it.
All right.
Okay. So, I will do a new fill layer gradient, and I'm gonna hit OK, and I'm just gonna grab this little guy over here. And since it's a gradient fill, it's a new layer too, which that's what we want. And then I can use this little angle right here to kind of direct where I want it to go. So that's pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That looks a little funky. I might kind of play with that. We'll see. But as far as like these colors, I love it. Okay. I think I'm happy with that. I'm gonna press OK. And so the other thing too is because I know that this is going to be, we're going to add this graphical element of the portal.
Yeah.
I might end up actually adjusting the gradient. So let's go ahead and add the portal now so that I know what I need to like.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So basically, dude, the portal thing is like so easy. It's like basically like I'm adding a new fill layer, and let me actually bring back those brand colors. So I'm going to be using this color right here and hide that up again. I'm going to do a layer, new fill layer, solid color. So this is one of the cool things too about product photography is that you can kind of combine graphical elements with your photography to make something a little bit more interesting.
Yeah.
I've definitely created like a whole checkerboard. Like there was one time I remember, I think you had done the whole checkerboard, but I ended up just using that as a guide to create a new one.
Yeah.
There was nothing in front of it. So I didn't really need it. Which is so interesting. Sometimes that's just how it happens. You know? But okay, so there we go. So that's our color, right? And I'm just gonna go ahead and delete that layer mask for now, but I'm gonna hide it. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the elliptical marquee tool. So you just right click on that rectangular one and select it. And I'm just gonna kind of go in the middle here. And on Mac, if you use the option and the shift, you'll get like, it'll start creating a circle from the middle, right? Versus if you start to create like, let's say without, right? Then it starts from there, right?
Yeah.
Whereas then if you use option, then it's the middle. And this is still like, not what we want. So then we add the shift to make it proportional and make it like an actual perfect circle, basically. So let's say we want it something like that. Maybe like that. That looks pretty good.
Yeah.
And so now with having that circle selected, I'm just going to go ahead and soften the selection here. Sometimes too, like you can't access the select and mask tool if you're on a layer that's not checked off, like that's not appearing.
Yeah.
So you have to just click another layer. And what I just want to do is I want to soften it just a tad. Okay. And then going back to our color fill layer, I'm going to turn it on. And then I'm going to add the layer mask while this portal circle thing is selected. And I'm just going to click on it. And then you just invert it. And
Beautiful.
then there you go. Well, that's pretty much it. But let's go back in here and just kind of fix a little bit of the this like funky looking thing.
Yes. I know Julian says spent all this time refining edges, but you forgot the whole edge of the glass. But she didn't.
No,
she said
I didn't.
She had said that she was gonna go back and mask it in. So
yeah, because it's a little tricky. It's like kind of, it's a little intense.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and go back. I do want to go back into, I actually do like the gradient how it is right now.
Yeah,
I don't mind it. I think it looks good. But let's see. Yeah, so like that just looks a little funky. So I'm gonna go ahead and fix that. I'm gonna go in, kind of do want to make it a little bit lower so it's a little more realistic.
Yeah. Valerie asked, what's the difference between Lightroom and Photoshop, and are there advantages to one over the other?
Ooh. I mean, they're both programs, right, to edit photos. I think it just depends on, I think it depends on the style of your photography, right? Like if you were maybe like a portrait photographer or like more lifestyle, nothing like, you know, too intense where you're like compositing or needing all these other tools. I think you can stay in Lightroom or Lightroom Classic, and you would be fine in staying there. Obviously, if you want more detailed work, I think Photoshop is where you really have a lot more, you know, more tools and more options to really like go in further and make like kind of more, you know, whimsical or like, you know, kind of crazier edits, if you will. So
sure.
yeah, I don't think there's, you know, a right or a wrong. Some people use both. I use both. Even for some of my portraits, I think, you know, if I want to remove some like, you know, someone walking in the background of a portrait or something, you know, it's easier on Photoshop.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah.
When you're done doing this, Sophia had asked, how do you import the gradient and what format is it in?
Oh, so I mean, I will be honest, I don't know much about gradients as far as like the ones that our client gave us. That's the one that our client gave us. I don't know how they made it. But it was an actual
JPEG or what was?
No, it
was an actual like Photoshop.
It was an actual Photoshop gradient. Yeah. Okay. So let me double check. So it was right here. I'm wondering where. Let me see.
Right there it says you can import gradients.
Yeah, it does. You can import gradients. I'm trying to remember how you do it though. I think like I'm trying to remember what kind of file format it has to be. I mean, it has to be like, you know, the same way that like a Photoshop brush or like a Photoshop you know, some sort of like action, like it all has to like be the right format. I just can't remember what it was exactly. I wish I could tell you. Let me see. Oh, there he is. There it is. Okay, so I can export it. So if you export, then it's a GRD. Yeah, there you go. And then you can, so if you export it somewhere and then let's say you send it to a friend, then they should be able to click it and it'll open up in Photoshop as well. So yeah, there you go. Cool. I'm glad I did that. Okay. Sweet. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and remove some of this right here. Okay. And then now I'm just going to work my way back with this glass thing because it's kind of weird. I'm going to actually lower my opacity so that I can like. And it's a little difficult too because it's such a clear.
Yeah.
You know, I might have to go in it a few times. Let me see. Yeah, see how it's like kind of weird? I'm trying to remember how I did it last time, but it was okay. Okay, cool. So I just need to go in it a little bit, like very light. Oops.
Yeah.
That's too much. Okay. I'm gonna go somewhere in between. So like maybe like not full hardness, but just a little bit.
Just bring it back in.
Let me remove that and then go back in.
Yeah, Xavier asks, it's an ASC, like a color, right? So it's a GRD is what the gradient is saved as.
Yes.
Which makes sense. Gradients.
Okay. This looks kind of funky right now. Let me see if I can smooth it out. It's a bit of a trial and error here. Okay, I'm just gonna like go in and then remove. I think that might be my best bet.
Yeah, yeah.
This looks crazy. Okay. There we go. I think that's gonna look better.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something that like happens a lot in product photography, at least for me. Like, I started out editing more like portraits and stuff. And then as soon as we got into like product is when I like feel like my editing just like expanded because I had to learn how to do so many random things,
Yeah.
things that I had never like really done before.
Right.
So it's good. I mean, there's a lot of learning. I hope that like, like if you're not learning, I feel like we're like forever students,
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, that's why watching other people edit on Adobe Live is awesome because you get to learn all these different tips and tricks. That you may not know otherwise. And see, like we always say, there's so many different ways to do the same thing, so you can see how someone else does something and be like, oh, I'm gonna try that now.
Exactly.
If you're just joining us, I'm Ellie and this is Arabella. We're a Weekend Creative, and Arabella is working on editing an image for a client shoot that we did, and she's also gonna show us stop motion if we have time.
If we have time, we'll see.
Yeah, which I think with that you could even just
I'll just show you guys how I can use add a gradient to like a person, because I think that's very different.
Yes. If we have time, you can show the animation, which you showed yesterday too. And then,
yeah, these things take time, guys.
They do.
It's so hard. Sometimes you're like, I want to show everything, but we only have like an hour and something.
I know.
But we try to show what we can.
Yes, for sure. So yeah, if you're just joining, that's what we're working on. And if you're watching over on YouTube, you can hop on over to behance.net/live. That's where we can see your chat and your questions. And we would just love to be able to talk with you guys. So feel free to ask as many questions as you want. And we'll answer as much as we can.
Oops, too much. I want to do like just enough. Obviously that looks a little weird because of this little the background. So I'll just, there we go. I feel like sometimes you can get real like nitpicky about stuff. I do. I know. Sometimes I'm like, it needs to be like this. But all right. I think I'm okay with that. I think that's like good enough for right now.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it as far as like cleanup goes, and, the portal and adding the gradient. Always making sure, I think the biggest thing about gradients is just like your selection. That's like the most important thing. But now that I have, like everything is in front, at the top, like the portal and the gradient. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add an adjustment layer, and this will only affect kind of what's, what's on the products and everything. So I'll just go ahead and bring it up a little bit, add a little bit of contrast. Made a little bit of a difference there. Nothing too crazy. It's so crazy, just like the little differences that everything makes.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I'm gonna go ahead and add another layer, and that's gonna be, if you watched yesterday's stream, kind of like my dodge and burn. And that's just where I take these tools over here and I start going over it.
Reverb Mike says, a shot of tequila. It looks like it. I know someone else already said it looks like a glass of scotch, but it is jojoba oil, so definitely not drinkable. That actually might be a shot glass though.
I think it is.
I think about, we have all these like little tiny like glasses and little bowls and stuff like that because they come in handy whenever you're shooting ingredients or food, or we have all different kinds. And I'm pretty sure this was originally a shot glass.
Yes.
Like a short
I think it was
glass.
too.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm just going over kind of like the already bright objects, punching them up like a little bit more. I could too, if I wanted to, like add some sparkles in here. Yeah. Like you can get all crazy, and make it like really fun. But for the purposes of right now, I'll just show you kind of where I'm taking it. And of course, I'm making sure that I'm kind of, really burning the label, the logo, so that it appears a little bit more sharp there. Okay. And then, sweet. And then I think I'm just going to do a quick selection here of the purple.
Bex says the shot glasses probably also come in handy when dealing with difficult clients.
Yes, so good.
Yeah. We drink cocktails on our podcast actually when we talk about clients and freelance and
it's all kinds of
ups
fun.
And downs of freelance life.
Okay. So that's a pretty quick selection there. And I'm just, again, using the magic wand tool and adding to my selection. And I'm just going to do a quick little soften, a smooth and feather. And then while I have the refine edge brush tool, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And I'm going to go over the kind of shade, the shadows right here. Make sure that, that the fall off looks realistic. It does such a good job too. I love this tool.
Yeah. So handy.
Okay. I'm going to press OK. And I'm going to do a layer, a new fill layer, and the solid color. And I'm going to hit OK. Obviously, don't want that color. I'm going to press OK just for now, but I'm going to hide it. And I'm going to click on that color, and I'm just going to select a color that's already there just so I can make it a solid. There we go. And it just kind of like adds a little something. I don't know if you guys can tell. It just makes it more.
It just makes it more even.
More graphical and more even.
More graphical, which also kind of matches the graphical. Like you have the gradient, which is kind of like, a fake element, and then the portal, which is like a fake element.
Too.
And so adding that into the scene, I don't know, it just makes it feel like it's more cohesive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then the final step for me is just the sharpening method, which if you were in yesterday's stream, super easy. You just duplicate your layer, filter.
Remember Mike says, I don't often need a kiwi and a loofah at the same time. Yes. So it's actually a sea sponge. It looks like a loofah. It's a sponge. And these are ingredients in these products. So this was a request from the client. Probably wouldn't normally pair all these things together in a photo.
But they look good though.
Somehow they look good together, but yeah, a lot of times when you're working with skincare or with like food or whatever, the client wants to show all the ingredients, right? So you got to kind of figure out how do we piece all these things together, make them look cool, because normally, you're right, they would not belong together.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's what they are.
So basically what I did, and I'll show it again just in case. So I have the layers duplicated, sharpened. It's just going to be a filter, other, and a high pass. And I'm just going to do one quick high pass for this one. So I'm going to keep it at like 1.6, 1.7, hit OK. Looks weird and gray, but if you change the blending mode, you can either use overlay, but we like to use linear light because it kind of has that more textured look.
Yeah.
And it looks, that's pretty, like it makes such a big difference. Like, especially you can tell in like the kiwi and the texture. So this is unsharpened. And then this is sharpened.
Yeah,
and it's just
like makes it
so much better. Yeah, and that's pretty much it, you guys. That we can just crop it into a square, and you're good to go. And that's your image. One thing too, I just thought of, it would be a really fun kind of like GIF is to like make the circle smaller, and then go out, and that would be like such an easy way to animate it as well.
Yeah, that'd be really fun.
Which that you just you duplicate it. And you make the circle smaller and so forth. So
that'd be
so
really fun.
Yeah, you can get playful with it.
Cool. So fun. Well, we have a few minutes before we need to jump over to the artist spotlight. If you want to get started on the next one, and then you can wrap it up once we're done.
Exactly.
And feel free to keep asking questions, guys. Or your comments are fun too. Like
I know. Thank you guys. You're so fun.
Yeah, makes the stream More fun.
Yes, I'm saving this, by the way. So again, like the cool thing is that once it's saved, it'll go right back into Lightroom over here. And then that way I can see it along with the rest of the other images. So let's get started on this fun little GIF. I don't know how much we'll get to it, but I'll at least show you kind of, you know, when it comes to a person. I think that's like a little bit more different, especially, you know, with hair too.
Yes.
Again, one of the reasons why I love the select and mask tool so much. But let's just say we're going to start at this point right here and then do one dot and then do one dot. Let's just do these three.
Perfect.
Just to keep it simple. It's like speed editing. I love it.
Yes.
Instead of speed dating, it's speed editing.
Yes.
Okay. Sweet. So I am just going to immediately put in all of these in here now, just so that we have them all. Okay. And again, we photographed these on like a gray because we knew that we were going to apply the gradient, which that's what a good pun, gradient. And so, yeah, we weren't too worried. We wanted to make sure that it was a neutral color, something that was simple so that there was no color cast on her body, right? Because then that would be a whole other Photoshop
especially
challenge.
with a white t-shirt. If you shot against a color, you would definitely get like a color cast on her.
Yeah,
and that
definitely.
it would look really weird when you tried to apply the gradient.
Yes. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and copy and paste this on this one, and as well as this one.
Cleve says, "Great work. That's a great product image. Thanks for all the tips and reminders."
Yeah. Oh.
Yes. And Julian says, "I guess that's a yellow kiwi, right?" Yeah, it's a golden kiwi. So that like they had very specific ingredients that they needed to show, and it was definitely a golden kiwi that they wanted us to show.
Yes.
Which is why it's more yellow than a normal kiwi.
Definitely.
Not normal, but like your average kiwi that you find in the grocery store.
Yes. Which it's really pretty. I like it.
It's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's just get started on this. I'm just gonna crop this now. I have the delete crop pixels unchecked. And that's just like a great little tool because then it like it says, it retains everything that's around. So if I needed to go back and move things, then I can do that. Yeah. But I'm just gonna do it for now because I don't really, I might even go in a little bit more. Like that.
Yeah, looks good.
Let me just cycle through as well and see what that looks like. Yeah, sweet. Okay, so to get started, basically, I am just going to, I have the other two layers, hidden, and then I'll just duplicate this and do a little clean selection there. Obviously, like we're big on maybe not retouching a whole lot. I think
on skin.
Yeah. I think it's like, we'll retouch certain things that are like, maybe things that would go away in a week or two, if they're like
distracting, like a little pimple or something.
Yeah, like a little pimple or something where it's just like, or unevenness potentially, because of whatever it is. But for the most part, we don't really like to do a whole lot. Just very little things. I mean, this model had like such amazing skin. I was like, wow. I know. But one thing I will do is I will retouch hair. So especially hers, it's very curly. And I'm going to like try and save myself so much time right now, right? Because I'm going to be putting a gradient on this and I have to do a selection. So the more I can, clean it up as far as little stray hairs, is going to make my life easier. Obviously, I want to keep like this texture here. This is really fun texture. But just like, the little edges that are kind of coming out right here. And that I'm just using like a simple, spot healing brush tool to kind of bring down a little bit. There you go. It's nothing too crazy, but just to help me out.
For sure. Yeah, I want to remind you guys too that you can watch all of the replays of Adobe Live on Behance. So there is so much content. There are like, I don't even know how many streams are available for replay, a lot. So definitely make sure to check those out. You can kind of go through, see different products that you want to learn, and you can pause,
Definitely.
you can rewind, you can fast forward. So that's great. The advantage to watching a replay. And Adobe Live is also hosting streamers on Behance all the time. So definitely just
I know,
check
it's
that
so
out.
fun. I feel like since,
Yeah.
with the pandemic and everything, like it really like opened up a lot of doors for
Yes.
more streamers, like people wanted to like have community, and
People want to
so
learn.
people want to
Yeah.
learn, yeah,
Yeah. So it's
especially during this time.
a great place to do that. So
Yes.
make sure to check those out.
Okay, I'm just gonna go in a little bit on this part right here. And I'm just doing a little stamp tool magic to kind of sweet. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And then one thing that I want to do as well is I want to kind of punch up the shadows a little bit, just so actually maybe it might help me to select if I keep the shadows that way. Let's see. Okay. One thing for sure that I remember I did for this GIF is that I changed her hair tie purple.
Yes, I remember
Because
that.
I wanted it to go with the rest of, with the brand. So I'm going to bring over those brand colors again and maybe just pick like a color from here, bring that up and just hide it. Sometimes I like to do that with the brand colors. It's nice to be able to have the brand guide on hand. So I'll have it like at the top hidden. Obviously don't export it with it.
Yes.
But I remember that I think, let me see if I can just select it and if it knows what I want to do, because sometimes it might not. Okay, that's pretty good. Oh, see, can't go too crazy. But just enough, I think, so we can get the gist of it.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I'll just kind of grab the rest of it.
Loud Pop says it's nice.
Aw.
Good job.
Thanks. I actually really love this little like hair tie that she brought. It was so cute.
I know, it's really cute. I think that's why we kept it, because we were like, oh, that looks so cute, and we'll just change the color later.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that's pretty good. I'm gonna do the same thing. Select and mask, smooth it out, feather it just a bit, and I'm gonna up the radius to see if maybe Photoshop knows exactly what I want, kind of right there. Sometimes you can kind of, if you didn't do the selection at like quite as detailed, sometimes you can use the radius and like just like push over the radius more and more and more, and like you can kind of like tell Photoshop like what it is that you want selected, because it's all about the edge detection.
Yes, for sure.
So I'm gonna do a layer, new fill layer, solid color while I have this selected, and because I already have that color, I can just hit OK, and I'm gonna change the blending mode to color, and that's a little crazy, so I might just make it a little less, kind of more realistic.
That looks good.
Yeah, there we
Dia
go.
says, hello, Arabella and Ellie. Hi, chat. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us.
Okay, so now we're ready to select the background of our model, and I know we've got a couple of minutes before we do our thing, but I'll just get started. And again, you guys can totally use the select subject tool. Let me see, I think I can do it this way. Yes. Okay, so select and then subject, and then basically you're telling Photoshop like, hey, I want you to select a subject, especially if it's on like a pretty simple background. I think sometimes it does a pretty good job of selecting it, and like there you go. See, like that's actually pretty good.
Yeah, really good.
I know.
Photoshop is a mind reader. Honestly. Somehow.
Yeah. So I might work with this. I might not. Sometimes I'll like try both things, right?
Yeah.
Like I'll let's say I like maybe actually want to try the magic wand tool instead. And sometimes that might yield me better results. You never know, you know?
Yeah, for
You
sure.
try different things, and that's the beauty of it. And I want to make sure that these are selected too, the shadow. Yes. But I did like actually how the select subject works. I might stick with that actually. Okay. So that was select subject. Yeah, it's pretty good. Okay. And then I grab it here. See, it like picked up a little bit of her skin, so I don't want that.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's not what I wanted. The other way. Okay. Sweet.
All right. Do you want to head over and do the artist spotlight? And then at the end, we'll come back and finish up what you're working
exactly.
on. Yeah.
Okay. So we have an awesome creative for this artist spotlight. Let me bring up her Instagram and her website as well. So this is Helen Coker, a dear friend as well. So we're very excited, but she's an amazing creative. She's multidisciplinary. Like she's in all kinds of things. She does
everything.
Graphic design. She does photography. She does even 3D, like rendering and stuff like that. So like, she's just amazing. So we just want to show her work. But yeah, if you want to say anything else, Ellie,
maybe you can open up some of her images so we can kind of see them a little bit larger. Her style is very like soft and elegant.
And luxurious.
So expensive.
Yes.
She does all of these kind of little like interesting pairings of things where she mixes textures, and she does a lot with flowers and like organic textures like mixed with these other elements. And so like these like beautiful still lifes that she also uses in her commercial work as well. So yeah, we just like really love her work and wanted to highlight her. She's someone to definitely follow for inspiration. Just even for like, if you do still life or like see how like she does these product images that like look like a still life artist, like it looks like art, right?
It looks like art. Yes.
Yeah, like it looks like this could be in a museum or something.
I know,
but it's
seriously.
but it's like commercial work. So
and like if you notice like too in her caption, she did the branding, the packaging design, the styling, and the photography.
That's just crazy.
Which is just like that, how talented, like the talent, you guys, the talent.
Definitely.
Yeah. And so she's just like, I just like love like how she's not afraid to kind of dabble into all these different types of mediums. And
and this, like, if you guys have ever tried to shoot textures,
oh my gosh,
it is so hard. So props to her, because this is impressive.
Yes, definitely. I know, so fun. And I just love the way that like again, like how you said, Ellie, just the contrast of the props that she uses and like what, it's kind of like earthy, but then
there's like a very elegant simplicity too, because I think it's hard. Like sometimes we think we need to add all these things to make a really beautiful image, when sometimes simple can be better depending on, what you're trying to convey. But a lot of times simplicity kind of translates into like luxuriousness, like you said. And so I think sometimes that's actually really hard to achieve. Like you look at an image that is kind of simple and you think it's really easy. But it's actually really hard to make a kind of simple image look finished and look full. So that's definitely a skill. And I just want all of her props.
I know.
They're
so beautiful.
Awesome.
And then if you head on over to her website too, I mean, it's gorgeous. Like, are we kidding? Are you kidding? Like how beautiful. I love.
Xavier says she's a real one-stop shop. That is impressive. It is impressive.
It is very impressive.
Sam went ahead and linked her Instagram in the chat as well, but it is Yeah, Helen Coker is her Instagram. She's based in Australia.
Yes. I think it's Byron Bay is where she's over
I
at.
think so. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. I believe this one was a render, right? Maybe, right? This
Yes.
like I know she's worked a lot with this brand called Moodelier, which are those props that are in there. So she's just so talented, and we just love her work. Like gorgeous. Like
yes.
wow.
I love still life photography like this. It's so beautiful.
It's so beautiful. Yes, yes. We love it. So good. I can stare at her work all day, every day.
Yeah, I just want prints of it for our studio everywhere.
I know.
This is so fun.
I know. And I think this one was a rendering as well, which is like so fun. Like how like 3D stuff is I feel like it's so hard to me at least.
Yeah.
So it's very impressive. Love it.
Yeah, just so creative and so beautiful.
So good. Let me go back to her. I'm going to go back to her Instagram real quick.
Okay.
Let me see.
Yeah. Dia says, wow. And Oliver says, great work.
Yes. Oh, I love this. I love anything with like reflections too. It's so fun. She does such a good job. We saw that one. That one's good. Oh, so good. It's so beautiful. I can't.
Yeah.
Let me see.
I love it. If you guys are interested in being featured in an artist spotlight, or if you have someone that you want to recommend, there is a little button or a little tab above the chat that says artist spotlight. So you can submit yourself or someone else there and be featured on a future stream.
Yes, yes. More of her work because it's so good.
Okay, so even something like this, which is so fun, that in the middle, that looks like packing material, right?
Yes,
or like some like cardboard, like what you would find in a package. And just the way she reuses things like that is so cool. And I think for me, it like inspires me to look more at different objects and
found objects.
Just be more creative with them. Yeah. And like collect things and think about how these found objects could be used to create a really unique image.
Yes. Yeah. She mentioned it in her caption too. A hex wrap leftover from her client delivery. So good. I love it. Some of her design work. Yeah. This is some of her 3D animations.
It's so
which
fun.
is so cool. I know. I feel like, yeah. See again, beautiful. She actually does a lot of that, like the mineral and the flora, which is so fun.
Yeah. Dia says the composition of texture and smooth in that one is so nice. Yeah, she does a lot of that, like a lot of mixing textures, which just adds so much interest, you know? And I think maybe that's why, like, yeah, there's like some simplicity there, but like the texture makes it so rich, even when it's like only a few items.
I think too, if I'm not mistaken, she has like like a garden, or she had a garden like where she like likes to grow her own flowers so that she can use them for her
so cool
images, which like how brilliant and how smart, because flowers are so expensive.
Yes.
But I'm sure also very hard to grow.
Yes.
But yeah, so this is Helen Coker. So make sure to give her a follow.
Yes.
It's at Helen Coker, that's Koker. And make sure to check out her website as well. And check out all her stories too. She shares like more work in her highlights, I mean.
Yes.
So yeah, that's Helen Coker. That's our friend, and we love her work and wanted to highlight her. So
wanted to give her a little support.
Yes. So, all right, shall we get back into it?
Yes, we have a few minutes left. So any last questions that you have, feel free to ask them in the chat. We would love to hear from you. Make sure we get any of those last questions in while we're here. Okay.
I'm going to do like speed editing here, you guys.
Okay, go for it.
We'll see what we can get away with. But yeah, now I'm just like refining this selection here around her. I'm making these kind of like loose selections here, but I will refine them as well. Okay. some of her t-shirt is getting cut off, so I'll add that back in. There we go. This as well. I think that's like one of the things too. Selections, especially for like selections in general, I think for most photographers are kind of one of the things that takes a long time.
Yeah.
I know especially for like compositors too. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Like, oh my gosh, it's like intense because you have to get it right, you know?
Yeah, it looks weird.
It looks
if you
weird. And like
don't.
same thing with product, you know, like especially if I'm gonna be like as I'm add this gradient, it'll be noticeable too, like when it's not done right, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yes, this bullet speed edits coming in. Yes, definitely.
I know we love a good speed editing session. Okay. I can hear my computer running. It's like, you're doing so much work.
You're putting me to work.
Okay. I think I'm like pretty good with that. Let me just, oh, we don't want her ear to get cut off.
Nope.
Actually, I might use a little curvature tool pen here to help me. There we go. Does anyone make any like weird faces when they edit? Because I feel like I do.
The really focused.
The focused. Make sure, you guys, that when you click on this, right click, and you make a selection, add to selection.
Yes.
Because a new selection is gonna throw away everything that you just did. Thankfully, we have the Command Z button.
Yes.
Make sure to add it.
The best button.
Add or subtract, whatever it is that you're trying to do. Make sure that you click that, because otherwise your whole selection is gone.
Xavier says the best work always comes when you're rushed.
Oh my gosh, I know, right? You're like, whoo.
I actually listened to a podcast this morning, and they were talking about like two different working styles. Like there's the people who are marathoners, where their best work is when they start really early and they finish early and they have like lots of time. And then there's the other type of working style, which is like the sprinter. And those are the people who like, they need the deadline and the pressure and the like crunch to get their work done. Like it's, you know, it's definitely like what makes their work the
like
best.
What it is. Yeah. That's so interesting. I feel like I'm a mix. I'm like definitely more of a sprinter for sure.
Yeah.
But because I think I do need that. Otherwise, like procrastination is just a hard thing.
Well, they were saying like, there's also procrastinators, but procrastinators are actually marathoners. Like they actually do their best work when they like start early, but it's different than the sprinter who like they thrive under the deadline. Procrastinator, when they're under that deadline, like, or they wait till the last minute, they wish they hadn't, and they like know they're not, and they regret it, and they know they're not doing their best work. That's me. Like I procrastinate, but I know that it's not my best work.
Yeah, definitely.
And I actually do my best work when I start early, but
I feel like it definitely depends too on the type of project too. Sure. You know?
Yeah.
so
Xavier says, yes, I'm definitely better in a crunch or late at night. That's Arabella's late at night for sure.
I'm a late at night kind of gal.
Yes.
Okay, so while I'm in the selected mask tool, I'm gonna remove this little bit. I don't know if I really need it, so I'm just gonna I don't know, just take it out.
Yeah.
All right. And then, so now here's the thing. So I definitely pumped up, added the smooth, moved it over to the right, maybe between 10, 15. And then slight feather as well. I do want it to be a little soft and feather out. But then the key thing here with the hair, especially, where there's a lot of texture, I'm going to go over to my Refine Edge brush tool on this thing. It's the same thing how I did with like the shadows on the products, is what I'm going to be doing here as well. So I'm just going to go around and with a small brush, just go over it lightly. And Photoshop is just going to know what to do.
It's magic.
It's amazing. It's magic. And it's basically just, refining the selection and refining the edge. And see, it's like, it's magic. It's doing its thing.
Magical.
So magical.
So magical.
And then same thing here. Sweet. I think that's pretty good. And then I think everything else is going to be okay. We will find out, I guess. But I'm the most important to me really here is the hair.
Yeah, for sure.
So now that I have that, I am going to, and let me double check the gradient on that, make sure that I've got it. I think we had kind of selected a little bit less color to kind of make it more,
it's like larger, so you don't see the super light blue or the super dark
exactly.
blue. More
so
the purples.
I'm going to do a new fill layer gradient, and then I'm going to press OK. Oh, and that's not what I want. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to invert the selection. So select, inverse, and now I'm going to do layer, new fill layer, and gradient. And I'm going to same thing, and I'm going to change that to our actual gradient. So I can double click on this again to kind of, adjust the colors again. So for example, like in this one, we ended up sticking with the purple and the blue. So what I can do is I could just take it away. Just grab the little marker, take it away, put this all the way at the end, and then take away this one as well. And that's just by clicking it and like literally dragging it away.
Yeah.
And I'm bringing it over this way. Press OK. And I'm going to change the angle here. I'm going to make it kind of at an angle here. So I'm going to press OK. Now here's the thing, right? Look at how weird it's looking, right? So I realized that there's a trick to kind of making that less weird looking. And that's literally just by duplicating the layer. I don't know why it works, but it does. And it does, right?
That's
like look
amazing.
How crazy. So the less layers, the more it shows up. And I think that's just part of like the selection, right?
Right.
So it's literally just as simple as duplicating the layer. And I think it like just helps with the selection. I know it's like really weird, but it works. And I'm pretty happy with kind of like the rest of it. That looks
awesome.
Beautiful. And then again, like I didn't mention it in the last one. I actually forgot to, but one of the things before you're exporting, this is going to show some banding. I don't know if you can already see it right now. Like these like little lines. Yeah. So one thing that helps fix that is, so I'm going to turn this into a smart object, and I'm going to add a little bit of grain. And I already have a preset for it, so I can just add it. But if you wanted to just if you didn't know how to, or if you didn't have a preset already, you can just add a little bit of noise. So let me actually zoom in just so that we can see it. So filter, noise, add noise. And you can already tell that like that little bit of, so there's two types of distributions, uniform and Gaussian. I think I like uniform. It looks more like grain to me. So I'm just going to do that, maybe 1.75, nothing too crazy. I just want it to be like barely there. And press OK. And that already helps with the banding so much. Like
definitely.
You can barely even see it. And especially less. Yes, exactly. So that's pretty much how you add a gradient for a person. I mean, that's a trick that I found that helps me when it comes to hair, especially. If anybody else has any other tricks, please let me know. Love it. Okay, so that's pretty much it for that first one. I mean, obviously I would edit more of her and like everything, but yeah. And then I would basically do the same thing for each one of the other ones. And if you guys watched our stream yesterday too, it's basically the same thing of having those layers and then putting them in that timeline like we showed you yesterday. But I'll just get started on the other one. I don't know how much we have left, but we'll see.
About 6 minutes.
All right, let's see if we could do it.
Maybe just don't do any cleanup and just drop that gradient in and see if we can do it.
Let's see. Okay, that did a pretty good job. I know I'm gonna turn into a sprinter right now.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, see, sometimes like it doesn't always get it like exactly right. So you have to like, okay. But you know, Photoshop is trying. It tried and it did a good job.
I mean, it is pretty crazy what it can
I know.
recognize.
I know. Okay. There we go.
If anyone has any last questions, feel free to ask them. We have about 5 minutes left. And so if you have any burning questions that you've been sitting on, now's the time.
Yes, please do. Okay. I think that's pretty good. Let me go ahead and do the select mask. And I'm going to go over the radius a little bit, smooth it, feather it slightly, and then use my favorite refine edge tool and get those hairs. And so I didn't do any cleanup, right? I'd normally probably.
You wouldn't have so many hairs, probably.
Yes, exactly.
All the stray hairs.
Uh-huh. Let me see. Okay.
Xavier asked, do you have any client management or expectation tips?
Client management?
Or expectations, yeah.
Ooh.
I think.
Yeah, go ahead, Ellie.
Well,
sorry.
I think asking a lot of questions is really good because it helps you to have the right expectations and it helps you to be able to like explain things to the client when, you know, right from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And I think just setting expectations and boundaries from like the very beginning. So like putting the scope of work into your contract, putting into your contract what will happen if changes have to be made to that scope before the shoot, if reshoots have to happen, like, you know, do you charge for that? If you have to charge for re-editing, like what's included, what's not included, what's that process like? Just being really clear from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, just being really upfront and like really open about your process and how you work. I think that's, yeah, the more you can communicate. I don't think you can really over communicate things. I think, you know, we put timelines, like I go over the timeline with the client.
Oh, no wonder. Okay. I was like, why is it not working?
Go over the timeline with the client, like on the phone. I put it in the contract. I put it in like email. I like tell them, you know, all these things multiple times. Yeah, I don't think you can like over communicate. It's better than under communicating for sure. And that just like helps the client know what's going on and be able to trust you. And also just helps with their
I think it's like communication and trust.
Yeah.
Like just period. I think that's like, you know, that's gonna be like what you'll need for a relationship to be good with your client. Like,
yeah,
you know,
for sure.
Otherwise it's a recipe for disaster.
Yes. Yeah. Then you get the clients who like micromanage or they want to like basically do the photo shoot themselves.
Oh my gosh, yes.
They don't trust you. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's pretty good enough. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll do the inverse. Oh, not that. There we go. Layer, fill layer, gradient. And actually, what I can do is actually duplicate this gradient over here.
So it's exactly the same for the GIF.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, because it would look kind of weird if the gradient was like moving around in the background.
And then you just delete that layer mask from the other one and then you just add it.
Yeah.
And then same thing, just duplicate those layers and then you're good to go. Okay. I worked a little bit backwards. I did like the top one and the bottom one, but I have this one left to do.
Well, that's okay.
But
I don't think we'll get to it.
I don't think we'll get to it, guys.
It was so close, so close.
So
But
close.
you can watch the replay of our stream yesterday and you can see how Arabella puts them into the timeline and then uses the timeline in Photoshop to create a GIF, which is really fun. And it's like a great way. Like we don't do video, but a lot of clients ask for video these days. And we're kind of like, here's our version of video.
Yeah, stop motion and animation is equally as fun and like, you know, there's a lot of work that goes into it as well. It's definitely in post, but so make sure to,
This image is an example of like you shot multiple images and then pieced them together. The last one that she showed yesterday was like one image that then she like created animation from. So
exactly. So this is what it would have been turned into. But as you can see, there's definitely like a little bit of grain in the background. So that's something to keep in mind when it comes to adding gradients because you don't want any of that banding.
Definitely.
Cool.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. It was so fun. Feel free to say hi to us on Instagram or wherever you find us. We would love to chat with you guys more. And then make sure you stay tuned. The Illustrator Daily Creative Challenge is coming up with Julia Vaca. And then right after that is going to be day 2 of branding with Ryan Selvey. So make sure you stick around for those. It's going to be so fun. And we will see you guys next time.
Yay.
Bye.
Bye.